How to Win Friends and Influence People, by Dale Carnegie. A famous American gangster, who at one point in history, became the most wanted man by the American police, and who committed dozens of robberies, and killed hundreds of people, he was eventually caught by the police. In front of the judge, of the psychologists and the whole world. He claimed to be an empathetic person, and that he would never hurt anyone. He believed from the bottom of his heart that he was one of the gentlest and best people that ever existed. The madness is that, he was at the lie detector, and the big surprise came when they asked him if he was a good man. His answer was affirmative. And the test showed that he was not lying. That was after a week before, he had shot a policeman in the head in cold blood. How is it possible that he passed that polygraph test? The answer does not consist in the fact that he managed to cheat the polygraph or another scam, but it is his ego. He believed with all his being that he was the best man that ever existed, so loud, that it became part of his reality. Each of us has an ego, which we build throughout our lives. We see our lives through the magnifying glass of our ego. Therefore, many lose touch with reality, believing in these worlds created by them. If you want to always have a close contact with reality, you must form sincere friendships with those close to you, and ask them to tell you honestly, what they think is your most important quality, and the biggest flaw. No one will be willing to say at first, if they really care about you, in the idea of not hurting you. But, if you convince them, that this will not affect your relationship, and you will not judge them, you will see, that they will tell you. In many cases there are things you didn't even realize. And if you're smart, you'll turn that to your advantage. Learn to detach yourself from your ego. This way, Abraham Lincoln, before he became president, knew he would not succeed without the votes of the opposition. So he began to agree with them, but only on the surface. He basically said like them, and he did like him. He learned to detach himself from his ego. That was until he became president. From that moment on, he did what he wanted, in accordance with his values. He agreed with opposition politicians, who spoke of slavery, as a normal thing, just to win votes. After that, Abraham Lincoln abolished slavery. He is a true example of success. You have to be aware and realize when you can't win a dispute. Everyone has their world built in their head, and if you try to change it, as little as possible, you can't succeed. Watch the politicians who appear on TV, and who are always arguing. When have you ever seen them say, or admit to the opponent in front of them, that they were wrong, and that they apologize, because the other is right? These things happen as often as winning the lottery. What you can do is say that your opponent is right, and add what you really want to say and your ideas, or, to say that he is right only that he failed to add these things. And again, expose what you think. Notice that in both cases he agrees with them. It's the only way you can get someone to change their mind, and that's to flatter their ego. 99% of people identify with their ego. So, when you tell him he's right, you flatter him, and make him feel important. Only then, you can gain his trust, and when you express an idea, more inconsistent with his values, he will not be as motivated to interrupt you, or to attack you, knowing that you appreciate him, because you said that earlier. What he doesn't really know, is that you said that, just for the sake of defeating him later, and not because you really do. The second part of the book is about empathy. There was a customer, who was always dissatisfied with the quality that a company offered him. The client looked very recalcitrant. He didn't pay the bills on time, and he wasn't trustworthy. But it represented a large part of that company's revenue. In other words, he was a customer they couldn't afford to lose. They struggled with him for years. They sent him dozens of summonses, and even company representatives went to him in person, but in vain. His actions were unchanged, until one day, when this company hired a new manager. He was said to be the best manager in the entire county. He saw the issue in question on the balance sheets, and decided to go personally to visit him. Of course he was greeted aggressively. But, he had a different tactic than the rest, in other words, total empathy. He realized that this man, as bad as he was, needed their services. And for better or worse, he paid them in the end. So, he tried to put himself in his shoes, as much as possible. When the two met, the manager told him that he really wanted to solve his problems, and to prove it to him, he handed him a $100 bill, for 10 minutes with him. He told him, that he knew he was an important man, and did not want to interrupt his activities, in order to lose money. It basically flattered his ego and gave him a sense of importance. At this moment, The client took the money and invited him in the house. He started screaming, and saying that the company is not able to deliver exactly where he wants, and other details like that. The manager made a list, and told him that he was right, and that he would also be upset if the company did the same to him. He added that, if the next transport is not what he expects, he will resign, and pay for the goods with his own money. Then, he apologized for bothering him, and left. He did what no one else had done before, in other words, he put himself in his shoes. Everyone else before was thinking only for their own good, and of the company, and no one put the customer interests first. So, at the next delivery, not only he made sure that everything was fine, but also gave him bonus materials, and a letter of thanks, in which he wrote that he is an excellent customer and that he admits his mistake, and apologizes for what happened in the past. The manager also used the ego detachment tactic in this letter. From that moment on, the client always paid on time, and was never recalcitrant. Moreover, he started ordering larger and larger quantities, and became also a close friend of the manager. This is a classic example of empathy. If you want to win an argument, you must understand the points of view of the interlocutor. Put his needs before your needs, and only then expose your personal ones. If you do things in this order, your interlocutor will not be so eager to interrupt you, and he will start to have respect for you. Detachment from your ego, and true empathy, are the features of great characters. So don't forget to use them if you want to become one of them. If you liked this video, don't forget to give a thumb up, hit the subscribe button to see other similar videos in the future.